everyone, thank you so much for clicking onto the video. Here are today's learning objectives. So we're going to be looking at the properties of alcohols and how the polarity of alcohols and the explanation in terms of hydrogen bonding of the water solubility and the relative low volatility of alcohols compared with alkanes. And then we're going to look at the classification of alcohols into primary, secondary and tertiary alcohols. Now I'm going to introduce alcohols. So alcohols are a homologous series with the general formula CnH2n+1OH. So the first alcohol we have is methanol. So that would be when you sub in n equals 1. So we would get a formula of CH2 multiplied by 1 plus 1 OH. So methanol has the formula CH3OH. Alcohols are produced industrially by hydration of alkenes in the presence of an acid catalyst, and they can be classed as primary, secondary or tertiary alcohols. So for primary alcohols, the carbon which is attached to the OH only is attached to one alkyl group. So we have the carbon and the OH, and we have the carbon is attached to another two hydrogens and only one alkyl group, which is what the R stands for. So this is a primary alcohol. The secondary alcohol is where the carbon which is attached to the OH is attached to two alkyl groups. So we have the carbon attached to the OH, and then we have one alkyl group and another alkyl group and a hydrogen. And so this is a secondary alcohol. And then for the tertiary alcohol, we have three alkyl groups attached to the carbon, which is attached to the OH. And so we have carbon and the OH, and now we have three of these alkyl groups. So this is a tertiary alcohol. Alcohols have higher melting and boiling point compared to their corresponding alkane, and this is due to hydrogen bonding. And we get hydrogen bonding between hydrogen and a very, very electronegative atom. And so because we have OH bonds, hydrogen bonding is present. And this is opposed to the weaker van der Waals forces between the alkane molecules, which take less energy to overcome and so have lower melting and boiling points. The shorter alcohols are soluble in water, and this is because they can hydrogen bond with the water molecules. However, the longer alcohols are insoluble in water, and that is due to the longer hydrocarbon chain, which is insoluble. You'll also need to know about the volatility and polarity of alcohols. So alcohols have relatively low volatility due to their ability to form hydrogen bonds between alcohol molecules. So for example, here we have an ethanol, and it can form hydrogen bonds with another ethanol, and it does this by this hydrogen which bonds with an oxygen. So we have a hydrogen, and then we have the rest of the molecule. And it can do this because the oxygen is very electronegative. And so because of the really high electronegativity difference between hydrogen and oxygen, it can form this hydrogen bond, which takes quite a lot of energy to break because it's the strongest intermolecular force. And so that's why it has a relatively low volatility, because its boiling point will be quite high. And another thing that you need to know is that the bond between carbon and oxygen the oxygen-hydrogen bonds are polar in an alcohol molecule. And this is again because the oxygen is very, very electronegative. So its power to attract the electrons in a covalent bond is very high. And so all the electrons like to be around the oxygen more. And so it obtains a partial negative charge, whereas the things which are attached, so the carbon and the hydrogen, both obtain partially positive charges, because all the electrons like to be around the oxygen and not around the carbon and hydrogen.